We never know how high we are.
Till we are called to rise.
And then, if we are true to plan,
our statures touch the skies. Who are we if this is where we end up?
Who are we when we ignore the facts?
Who are we to make our voices heard?
I enjoyed the use of the quote of the Emily Dickinson poem in the introduction, and the overhead shots and the purple hue of just some of the homeless tents that we see below. And we find that this is to accentuate the problem of women and their stories of how they became homeless, stemming from all kinds of tragic abuses in the home as children. There was an address of how trauma affects the brain and how it stunts the growth. It's very interesting to hear the program center of Pathways speak to this. Overall, you get a really good idea from the interviews of the vulnerability of the victims and how the trauma leads to the addiction and ending up on the streets. The success of these women that are interviewed is so impressive. I would love to hear more about this program. The shots at the end were very effective of the streets and the more purple tents at the city level.
I think it does a really great job highlighting this organization and the work that they do for children, and the different therapy that they offer. I think this is a really healing piece, and I think it showcases this organization really well. I think you highlight a lot of issues that are really prevalent for the children going through all of this and how they're being helped. I think this is a really great promotional piece, and it does a really great job of highlighting the issue and showcasing how it's being addressed. So it comes together to be a very well done, informative, and slightly heartwarming piece at the end.
I loved what the filmmakers did in the beginning with the selective coloring on the black and white. I thought that was a really, really smart choice. And it just looked incredibly cool. And it fit the piece so well, too. The interviews and all of the cinematography was just beautiful and really amazingly done. I think Pathways is a wonderful organization, too. What they're doing with these women is absolutely incredible. The interviews and the stories themselves, listening to each of the women talk about their past and what the organization of Pathways has done for them, I think it's so brave of them to come forward and tell their stories about what happened to them and the abuse that they suffered, because it is really, really traumatic. And talking about it, reliving that, can stir up a lot of old feelings. So I have to commend them for that. And it was so beautifully done. And hearing how they were able to get the support and the help they needed from Pathways was great.
Such beautiful and touching stories from these people from these women who struggled to get through the abuse and trauma that they went through. It's just so heartbreaking that this is so prevalent still today. I thought it was a nice setup with the quote from Emily Dickinson and just, seeing the stories and knowing what this is about right off the bat. I love the dog, the animal therapy dog. It was super cute. Thought the music was great throughout, and I loved the ending song. Just really nice interviews as well, and just technically everything was there. It was very professionally done, and I wrote down a couple of quotes. The more trauma we have, the more difficult to access certain parts of the brain, which is interesting, and slowly that terror turned into hope. That was a beautiful thing to say. It really kind of puts things into perspective. And I also wrote down Pathways helped me to believe, and we need constant support of others. The need is so great.
I love how the short focus on the subject, but instead of creating a bad stereotype or a cliche. It actually provides a better system in the schooling system to the ones who aren't able to support themselves. I love how this film is open to all and no matter the background. It also allows people from all over to fully engage with the film and concept of the Pathways movement.
Really does a great job at fitting a lot into such a short duration. We get to hear from, we get to hear a few different stories, and they're all just heartbreaking in their own way. And it helps humanize a very important issue to hear those stories. So for that reason alone, I'm glad this piece exists, and it just does a really great job at letting them share those stories with us, and maybe remind anyone who needs a reminder that this issue is it's real, it's serious, and it's good to know that there are organizations out there helping. So it was informative and compelling piece.